I don't know if I'm early tonight or late tonight. Am I early tonight or am I late tonight? Because I've been doing them about 10:30 at night most days this week. And that's worked pretty well for me. But I'm used to trying to come in here at 9:30 and feeling bad that I'm late at 10 o'clock. So I'm late on that schedule, but I'm early on the schedule of what we've done this week. Speaking of what we've done this week, oh, I got a case of hiccups. A lot of rich food this week. Very rich food. I've enjoyed a lot of it, honestly. Some of it has not enjoyed me, however, or I don't know how else to phrase that. Like, yeah, no, some of it really, really didn't do good things for me. All right. So, uh, first day of cooking we did was Monday, and that was ketchup, cocktail sauce, marinara sauce, and pizza sauce. And for each of these, the real premise of doing this was to show, like, if you start by making a marinara sauce, by just tweaking the resulting marinara sauce, you can make a pizza sauce. If you start by making a ketchup, and if you just tweak the ketchup a little bit, you can make a cocktail sauce. And so it's finding out the common root of several things, a family group of certain foods, and using that to create the resulting recipes that we made. And so we started with the tomato base. Now I started with canned tomato paste, tomato puree. Um, and like when I think about doing these as a cookbook, when I think about doing the cookbook for some of these recipes, like the tomato sauces, I think I'm going to start with a recipe for making your own tomato puree and tomato paste, from which you can then make the marinara and the pizza sauce and the ketchup. Um, and that sort of further step back adds the ability to look at those foods as things that you can go from garden to table. But for the sake of doing the programming that I did on the cooking this last 5 days, many of them ran an hour and a half. I don't think there are a lot of people out there who are going to watch an hour and a half videos of that. So, like adding an extra 3 hours of cook time to get a tomato paste, no, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. Not for a cooking show. If I did an edited cooking show, maybe I might do something like that. And as I talked before, I've had the idea of doing a cooking show on a separate channel before I even had the idea to do the channels that I'm working on now. And so I may end up doing edited cooking content like that in the future. But for right now, that was not the goal of this week. The goal of this week was to sort of get a feel for how different sauces could be made. And I just keep coming back to the fact that I did 5 days of cooking this week. Each day was 4 different recipes. We've got 20 recipes for different sauces, dressings, and marinades. And if I remember correctly, I keep trying to remember the young woman who had that website I talked about a while back, where she had her little downloadable PDF uh, cookbooks. I want to see if I can find that. And I totally respect how she did what she did. It makes it affordable and accessible to her fan base. while at the same time making it a viable product for her to make good money off of. Oh, wait. What's the book? It was Raw. You're not going to back me up, are you? All right. This web search is not going to result in anything useful, I don't think. I want to say flower or something or other. No, Katie Flower or something like that. I've got it. Katie, let's see if I can find her on here. Okay, so Katie Fruit Flowers is the username under which she goes there. So what we got here is her ebooks are, so let's see, 21 meals. Is that right? So this was cooked vegan. So it's a 21-day meal plan. So that's 3 to 4 meals per day. So, and that was a $25 cookbook. Now, what we did this week was, yeah, I'm trying to remember. I swear. Okay, so I do think one of these was 30 different recipes, right? 30 comfort food recipes was $25. So we're close to that level of achievement. Yeah, it's a complete guide and 30 comfort food recipes. So she includes some other things in them and besides just the recipes. But using that as like a means of measuring my thought processes of how to pursue, because I had this idea for a cookbook years ago, even before I saw something like that. But the idea was to make a cookbook that starts you out on how to make all your own sauces, marinades, and dressings, and even sometimes like herb and spice mixes that you can use for like dry rubs and stuff like that. And the goal with each of those is knowing that if you combine the ketchup and the mayonnaise and the sweet relish, you get a Thousand Island dressing. Knowing how to do that means that you can transform 3 of these existing sauces into a 4th sauce, and that sauce lets you transform a regular burger into something you might be more familiar with, like the McDonald's burger with the special sauce on it. And so being able to transform a chicken breast with my sesame ginger dressing into a marinade instead of a salad dressing, transform that chicken into something completely different, or use that dressing on fish in a stir fry. So it's the transformation of things with a basic set of raw ingredients and knowing how to use them to achieve those transformations. And I have a little bit of a fascination with historical alchemy, and I got to thinking like that really sort of fits with the theme, was the idea of a kitchen alchemy recipe book. And so I thought that would be kind of fun to do. And one of the fantasy books I read at the time was talking about how like sorcerers and wizards might use different types of magic, and one of the types of magic was alchemical sorcery. Well, if you're making sauces and condiments and dressings and whatnot, the actual school of culinary arts for those types of creations is called saucery. So years ago, I don't know why half of my book ideas start from a pun, but it works for me. So I got to thinking like alchemical sorcery. And so I got to thinking, okay, so build a cookbook of sauces and marinades and dressings and condiments that you can make from raw ingredients, and how to combine them into new sets of flavors that can change. If you made the same dish of vegetables, rice, and poultry, and just use different sets of my recipes, you could make 20 or 30 different meals just with the same meat, starch, and vegetable combination, but it's all on how you sauce it. And so that was the original idea for this book. And so we've been dabbling this week with some very basic first portion of this. My original plan was to do 7 days. So I have 8 more recipes on top of what I've already done. So that's 28 recipes total that I could be combining into this cookbook. And that's not even venturing far and wide on some of the additional things I could do. Like if we step back and say, like, make your own relishes, pickles, and compotes. We didn't even remotely brush on sweets and dessert sauces. And like I have the Asian, the Indian, like the Chinese and Indian and Thai sauces that I want to dabble with. And like I could do enchilada sauce and Hispanic foods. Like if we go back through the different foods that I tried during the mukbangs, there are some of those kinds of things that we could explore again. And then there are like gravies and other things like that. And each of these, like, you kind of saw a little bit of it with the mustards, where I did like a Chinese mustard, like a hot dog mustard, and then a honey mustard, and then a Dijon mustard at the end. Those are all variations on mustard. Now, I could do a green tomato ketchup rather than the red tomato ketchup that we did. I could do a Russian dressing versus a Thousand Island dressing. I could do like just the variations on some of these things that are out there, and that would expand the suite of possibilities to even start with. And so this could be a rather substantial tome worth of works for alchemical sorcery. I may do them in installments, like condiments, marinades, dressings, and like cream sauces and gravies, and like just have them separate from each other enough, and go back to like how to make your own tomato paste so that you can make the ketchups, and like really all the way back down to your base ingredients. And if I did that and split them up into individual books like she did on her vegan cooking website, I could have 4 or 5 books, or like ebooks of 20 or 30 recipes each on how to go from garden to table and use them in multiple foods. So like for each one, it would be like here's how to make the base set of ingredients. Here are the sauces or dressings that you can make out of them. Here are some variations of them that you can make. And here's how to combine them with certain foods like your proteins, your vegetables, and your starches to make distinctive dishes. Because one of the things I did today, and I'm thinking I'm going to post them as a series of photos to my social media, is like I made the hollandaise sauce the other day for the cream sauce days. And I made eggs Benedict this morning. So I poached 2 eggs. I fried up a little bit of ham, and I put them on a toasted English muffin and put the hollandaise sauce on top. And I took a picture of that so I can post it to social media. But like the sauce I made was the hollandaise sauce. You can serve that over asparagus and people love it. You could put that over broccoli and people love it. The way most people are familiar with it is with eggs Benedict. So right there you have, put it over cauliflower and broccoli, put it over asparagus, put it over eggs, the sauce for eggs Benedict. And now you've got at least 3 different ways you can serve eggs Benedict. 3 different ways you can serve eggs Benedict or hollandaise sauce. And I mean, you can, like, my brother-in-law and myself at my mom's house were playing around with crispy crackers with cheese and cocktail sauce. And then there's shrimp cocktail. And then I'm pretty sure you could use cocktail sauce on a fish sandwich. Not a lot of people do that around here, but and there's probably at least another way or 2 to do that in a recipe. So, like the sauce, the materials to make the sauces are in themselves a thing you have to know how to do. And that's sort of like what I'll try to do for the intro section of the book. And then a list of recipes for individual sauces and their variants. And then recipes you can make with them. I think that combination right there is easily something I could do with everything that I'm going to do with like the 20 recipes that I've done right now. Probably another 20 to 30 variations on some of those recipes. And I've got another 20 recipes that I could probably come up with based off of sauces we didn't do this time. And so if I can do those sauces and variations on those sauces and the base ingredients you need to do some of those, I think we could easily have a collection of, ebooks like this young woman did. I keep going back to that. Like that's an impressive marketing strategy. She's smart. Because not only does it work for her customers, it works for her. It's a win-win. That's something I think I've talked about in the past, where I want to do smart marketing so that it's a win for everybody involved. I don't want to be this, dig in everybody's pockets kind of approach. And then, if people are interested, have a print cookbook that you could buy off of Amazon and have it be a compiled collection of all of it as alchemical saucery. And it'll be a big tome of 1 to 200 recipes that you can play around with. And maybe more. I don't know. The goal when I originally came up with this idea was to sort of fit my generalist, all over the place, jack of all trades model, where yes, we're doing alchemical saucery for sauces and cooking, but the second volume in the set was supposed to be, and may still be, because I do dabble with some of that stuff, is alchemical arts. and it's how to make your own paints, inks, pigments, dyes, stains, gesso, glues, varnishes, glazes, and those types of things for making art. And so it's alchemical sorcery, alchemical arts. And there's going to be a third one that was going to be other things. And there's going to be like healthcare and stuff like that, maybe. And so I was looking at it as a potential series of books of like the recipes to do the things that are important to you. So the cooking recipes, the art material recipes, the health and taking care of yourself recipes, the cleaning recipes, the I debated whether or not it made sense to do a category that was going to be philosophy and psychology, because it turns out that alchemy had a lot of application for philosophy and understanding the world and the universe. And it was interesting. And I thought it'd be kind of fun to operate from that frame of reference. So that's sort of where the plan for this is. I have thus far taken a few pictures of a picture each of hollandaise sauce, and they're not like skilled photographer pictures. I actually thought about seeing if I could work on that for the coming art week, but we did visual arts 2 months ago. I kind of want to move into playing and dabbling a little bit with music this time around. So that's what we're going to do this time. I will potentially look at in the future trying out photography as a visual art experiment for a week. But this coming week's definitely music. But I did take some pictures of some of the stuff that I did today. Did the honey mustard, the regular mustard, the hollandaise sauce, and my Gouda and bacon cheese sauce, and the pico de gallo. I took a picture of each of those. Oh, I might have somebody coming in here. Might have to cut it short tonight. Everything all right?
Yeah. How about you? Everything good?
I'm on the internet.
Good.
What's up?
Well, you happen to have a couple of pieces of bacon left of this thing you use?
I have some bacon, yes.
Can I grab a couple pieces for her tomorrow morning?
Yep.
I appreciate it. So I don't have to buy any more.
It's pre-cooked. So all you have to really do is reheat it.
That's good. I was gonna make her breakfast in bed tomorrow.
Okay. So
Just a couple pieces is all I need if you
now
have.
you gotta have the rest of that. I've got another pack in there for dabbling with later.
Do you?
Yep. It's one of the things I use in one of my recipes actually is for a type of sandwich.
Cool.
It's I think I've mentioned it. It's a pumpernickel rye swirl bread, which I've got. You do a Thousand Island dressing, and you put down some bacon, some roast turkey breast, and some Swiss cheese, and you toast it in the oven as an open-faced sandwich, and it's really nice.
Unbelievable.
It used to be something I used to get at it's one of those, I used to get it at a restaurant, and it's one of those, go in, taste it, break apart the recipe as you're eating it to figure out what it is so you can make it at home. I did that for some McDonald's foods when I was younger. So I know how to make a Big Mac at home, and I figured out how to do a lot of that when I was younger. And it was another one of those surprises when I did it, because like you make it with real meat and real bread and real ingredients, it doesn't taste the same. And it's because the stuff they give you is so like corn syrup filled fake food. It's not real food.
Oh, thank you. This will make her morning, but it make mine because I want to make her nice bacon, eggs, and breakfast.
Yeah.
Do we have that tray up here? That tray you sit over? Remember, there's a wooden tray.
The breakfast tray that you had out here on the table at one point, that one was broken.
Right.
I think you moved it out to the porch at some point. I thought.
Okay. I haven't seen it in a while.
I haven't done anything with it. I know I was going to look for parts to replace it.
I can take one of the trays like that and just put it on our neck bag.
You're up a little late, dude.
Yeah, I'm going to bed now. Take my shower and go to bed. I'm going to get up early too tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to get up relatively early for me to go visit my mom and bring her a bunch of things to... She's not going to have to cook anything all of tomorrow, essentially.
Oh, just the fact that you'll be there with her must make her feel good. That would make her feel good. That would be nice. Yeah, a little late.
Yeah, well, it's just about 11 o'clock. You're 5 minutes of 11. Bacon.
Yeah, thank you very much. That'd be good.
So what are you making for breakfast?
It'd be my make me feel good about doing something for me. Should have thought about it. I got her homemade dark chocolate Reese cups. You got to go to the candy store in Concord and get them because they don't sell them. I did get that.
Well, we could probably make that. It's a pretty straightforward recipe. You make
I got her a gift certificate at the bookstore because she likes books a lot.
Alrighty. Well, I will see you in the future.
Maybe tomorrow evening. I don't know what time you'll be home. But...
Probably after your bedtime.
All right. Well, I'll see you.
I will see you on a Monday, I guess.
I don't even know about that, but maybe Monday, Tuesday. I'm forcing everybody to work out over Saturday, 8 hours. And I took Thursday and Friday off a long time ago, so I said I wanted to be away for that weekend. I really don't want to come back on a Saturday. So they're making me work 12 hours Monday and 12 hours Tuesday to make up for the 8 hours Saturday. So I don't know if I'll see it Monday or Tuesday.
Alrighty.
If you do, I won't be even knowing it.
All right. Well, rest up. I'll see you when I see you.
Yeah. Take care.
Take care.
Thank you again.
Yep. Such is my life. 'Tis the nature of being where I am. Alrighty, so battle plan for the subsequent future. I've taken some pictures of some of the food already. I'll take a few pictures of some more of the foods that I've done. I will try to be posting those to, I might post some to Tumblr too, just to try it out. This might be a good series of posts to try to post with some of the social media multi-channel posting software, Hootsuite and Social Oomph, and those types of things where you can post to multiple platforms at once. I think I might just see if I can get posts to Facebook, Twitter, and Tumblr for each of the recipe photographs that I do with some description of what I'm doing and maybe a link to the video for each one of the recipes. And then that'll give me a little experience and test out some of that software for me. I need to explore and get familiar with it because I think it's a big useful tool that I've been hesitating to acquire one more tool to do a thing that I have to learn how to use. I'm a little anxious about just spending. It's funny. I'm anxious about doing that, but I have no problem deciding on mayonnaise. And I made a batch of almond macaroons. Like, that was a 20-minute process that I hadn't planned on doing that day, but I had the materials to do it, and I just on a whim I did it. But for some reason, the idea of putzing around with some of these software pieces, I'm like, I don't know. I'm not familiar with it. I don't know that I want to try to do that. Why wouldn't I do that? Why am I anxious about that? That should just be something I can just do. But so I will look at posting some photos of the food that I make with some of these dressings. I did that, like I did the honey mustard and the regular mustard today, and I did both of them as soft pretzels on a plate with a small dish of the dressing on the side. So I may redo one of those. That honey mustard has turned out really nicely, though. I have eaten everything that I've made, which is part of the reason why I'm feeling a little rough around the edges sometimes these days. It's a lot of stuff that doesn't always agree with me, and it's a lot of really rich food. I can't fathom that some people eat like this on a daily basis. Like, how do your bodies handle that? A lot of rich, creamy sauces, a lot of really thick, like oil-based recipes, or butter, or things that are meant to be served over a carbohydrate. So, like, I know they're tasty, but like, to me, that's like a tasty treat every now and then. Like, we've gotten so used to the fact that we can have these gourmet food items that people eat things that I can't even fathom eating on a regular basis, even if my system could handle them better than they do. All right, so that's mainly summing up this week of food. I'm going to explore more about and continue to build ideas for recipes for more sauces, herb mixes, dressings, marinades, and condiments. And just see where this goes. But I need to start thinking about, like, tomorrow's day one on Music Week. It's probably going to be predominantly a planning day. And I may be a little late getting back here because I don't know if you noticed. There's a good possibility we're going to have. It's Mother's Day. I'm going to be visiting my mother up north. I may be getting back here kind of late tomorrow, so I may not end up getting here in usual time frame. But I'm not going to keep her up late, so I'm going to bring a bunch of the recipes that I cooked this week to her to try. So it'll be interesting to see what she thinks about that. I almost ate all the Gouda and bacon sauce, the cheese sauce that I made, because that was so tasty. But I did save a little for her and maybe my brother-in-law, if he's interested. Because not everybody in my family is into some of these foods, which is kind of sad. But I've got enough of it now. Not a lot of pesto. There wasn't a lot of the sesame ginger dressing or the Italian dressing. But then I don't need a lot. I'm okay with that. I looked at the amount of mayonnaise that resulted from what I did, and that was a moderate amount, pretty good. But there were a few of the recipes where I'm like, it's a small enough amount, whereas like the ketchup was not a small amount of ketchup. I'm going to end up having to throw some of that out because I just can't use it up in a reasonable amount of time. But yeah, I mean, I think the thing with that, like the ketchup, is I'm probably going to have to, if I do that in the future, think about other sauces like the Thousand Island dressing, the cocktail sauce, and potentially like a barbecue that would all use ketchup, so that I can cut the amount of the ketchup down to a quarter of its original size. And then that's a little more reasonable to be able to use at a, like in a week to 2 weeks time. And so I'm gonna have to think about that in the future. I struggle with the fact that I don't have a lot of people that I can give this stuff to. It's weird because there's like a lot of what I did this time had a fair amount of dairy in it, so cheeses, sour cream, butter, and I know enough people with lactose issues that they're not going to want to eat any of that. I know some people with some gluten issues, and if you're using any flours as a thickener, which I didn't do for most of it. I think I did it a little bit for the Gouda and bacon sauce, but like, so there are some people who can't eat those particular dishes, and then everybody's always on some kind of diet. They'll sit there and they'll eat a Snickers bar, and then like, I'm not eating anything good for the rest of the week because I need to lose the weight I ate from the Snickers bar or something like that. And it's like, I'm making you homemade, high quality food items, and you would rather splurge on a Snickers bar. I guess I kind of understand it, but it's still kind of disheartening because, like, I can't eat a lot of that stuff. It ruins me too. But I'd love to be able to share it with more people. I thought about doing a cooking show. When I talked about doing the cooking show, one of the things I thought about was like, is there a way to make like a gourmet food item or something and then share it with homeless people in an episode? I don't know. Like, I kind of want to do that, but I can't even figure out how to make that happen. It just, I can't get my brain to organize that in a way that I can figure out how to achieve that. But, all right, so this has been all over the place, and we had a nice distraction for 5 to 10 minutes or something. That it felt longer than that, I think, but it wasn't really that much time. So I'm going to spend a little time tonight sort of starting to figure out where I'm going to go tomorrow, and then tomorrow night will be the finalization of the planning for Music Week. And then I'm thinking, just sort of out loud right now, I'm thinking what I'm probably going to end up doing is try to do 3 pieces of music between Monday and Friday. I don't know. I'll think about that. I'll see what makes sense for me. And some of that's going to depend on figuring out what I can and can't do. So like when I look into it tonight and sort of figure out where I'm going and what I'm going to try to do, that's going to inform my choice of how I go forward tomorrow. I think the original plan I had was I was going to do something like a couple parody songs that would be kind of fun to try to do. I think what I'm instead going to aim towards is just some background music I can play in my videos, and maybe an opener tune and like an end credit song or something like that I can use in those particular aspects of my video, and then make them available for other people if they want to use them too. I'll have to look into how that particular setup works. like I've tried to contact other YouTubers and find out how all of that, like anybody who has any experience in that figures that stuff out, and nobody's responding. Now, communication among the YouTuber community is just terrible. Nobody talks to anybody about any of this kind of stuff. So I think what I'm going to probably do is figure out and create a couple pieces of music, use them myself, and when I get the chance to go to VidCon, I will see if I can attend some panels or discussions or whatnot and figure out if there is a way, like maybe like if somebody's doing a discussion and they open up to questions at the end, I might get up and mention that I've created some pieces that people can use. How can we do that so that there aren't risks of copyright strikes between two different videos with the same sounds playing in the background? Like I got to figure that part out. Like if I make a piece of music and I put it in my video and make it available for you to download and you use it as background music in your video, how do we make it so that YouTube doesn't flag you for using sounds that clearly its AI can sense in my videos and your videos? Like we don't want either of us getting flagged for that. And I got to figure that part out. So I think what I'm like, it might be easier just to do parody music this week. But when did I ever go for the easy option? I think I'm going to spend the next 24 hours-ish thinking about what makes the most sense for me to go forward with right now. And can I achieve doing background music and making it non-copyrighted music? I might even do like a small set of sound effects that people can use for like dramatic effect, and like the mic drop and the record stop and the maybe like breaking glass and screaming, or a few of those simple little soundboard items that you can chuck into a video to use. And just have a little bit of fun with that. Oh, that might be fun. Do you ever have one of those little like keychains that have like 7 or 8 different noises that you can, like canned laughter, a burp, cash register sound, cha-ching, that kind of stuff. And yeah, basically I could make an audio version of one of those, some background music, 2 or 3 pieces of background music I can use as little pieces that can be looped to run a whole video length. And then like an opener theme song that's probably 5 to 10 seconds long, a jingle essentially for each of my channels. And then, yeah, I think that's probably, I'm going to sort of make a list of those types of things that I need to do and figure out where to go from there. So I think that's what I'm going to do tonight. Yeah. Yeah, it's the tricky thing about the copyright on those is like, as much as like you'd think you'd be able, like I've seen things that my brain tells me there's no way that that's still be up for years and not get any kind of takedown put on them. But then I've seen people who, for like the dumbest reasons, get a takedown and have their channel locked and spend a week trying to contact YouTube to get stuff squared away for stuff they own. They purchased the right to music, but somewhere along the way, somebody did something, or there have been occasionally some bad actors who have acquired, well, and I had an issue early on when I started YouTube. I used in my early videos, I think if you went all the way back, and I don't recommend it unless you're really curious, my early videos, which are really bad, but I used some of the free samples that YouTube says were free music pieces that you could use for your videos. And so I did that, and I used their free music. And like a week after posting like the third video on this channel, I think it was, I got flagged for using one they said was free for me to use off of YouTube itself. It's like when you go in and you upload a video, there's a place where you can get the free music at the time. And I think you can still do that. And I got it off of the free music section from YouTube. Like, not like a YouTuber, but actual YouTube itself. And it flagged me within a week. And so I just removed the music from the video, and I refused to use any of their music ever again. I don't want to have to suddenly fight with somebody about it in a month to 2 years. And I always said to myself, I'm going to make my own music for my own videos so that it's not a freaking problem. You know, like if I can just, like, if you do a 4-note, 1-chord progression in C major, you can kind of get away with just doing that for like that 10-second opening jingle. Bum, 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 bum. Like, that's literally all you would have to do. And you can do that with a little piece of software or an instrument that you have, and you're good to go. And I always said, like, I'd probably do something like that. And then if I did something like a simple strumming in the background of a simple, pleasing background note sequence, that could be like just a little bit of atmosphere in the background that lends to it. And I got to thinking, like, if I'm looking at doing like horror fiction, fantasy fiction, science fiction, books, movies, games, and those types of things, I might try to get like a minor scale and a major scale and get different feelings, like a tune for each of the different types of content that I might put up. And if I have like a song, a little bit of a loopable track that I can do, that I can switch from major scale to minor scale, but it's still the same tune. It just goes from upbeat and lively to somber and noir. Like, I think that would be kind of a good little package to just play with. I mean, I understand that there's a little of like in the background. I understand part of the reason why it can happen. And I think in all probability, in my case, somebody gave their music to YouTube to use in their free music capabilities. And at some point, that artist may have contracted with a music company. And in that contract is the rights to ownership and protection of the rights by that music company of the creations of that artist. And so into that deal comes the stuff they've released on YouTube. And like, there's no contract between them and YouTube for that kind of thing for some of the early ones. I think they've worked some of that out now. The bad actor situation still happens. And that's just because there's a lot of wiggle room in the laws for this. Like, we have only really had about 15 years of a truly open sharing economy for content creation. They're really like, I had access to the internet in the early 90s. And we shared and did shareware stuff all the time, but the copyright was always copyrighted. It's only really been since the early to mid 2000 range, so like 2005, that I can think of, where you really start to see like the post Napster, post pirate audio or music environment start to look into a different model than going through music companies. And you suddenly see, like, for some people it's advantageous to give stuff away for free and make it available for other people to use, and the model through which they make their money back from that process by bypassing the music companies and the big business behind all of that. We're still trying to figure that out. Like, the models have only existed for about 15 years. The laws haven't caught up to it yet. I can still remember SOPA and PIPA, which were the two laws they were trying to do to stifle all kinds of stuff on the internet. And Europe just passed some stupid thing that makes it like, if you reference something, you have to have like a signed permission from the owner of that referenced item to share that via a link on the internet. And if you link to something on the internet without that signed consent form, then you're liable for a fine. And the company who helped you build your website, so if you do a YouTube channel or a Tumblr page, if you post something that you don't have the rights to post, they are also liable to a huge fine. Like, Europe just passed this as a law. Clearly, they don't understand how the internet works. Like, you cannot make that a law. There's no way that can work with the way we function as a society now around digital content and the rights of it. It's just like, the system has not caught up to what we can and are doing. And so I get how, like, this system, like a system like YouTube's system, like, they may not want to be the way they behave, but they may not have a choice. Like, the government can come nailing them down to 2x4s about this one. Like, they have to cover their butts, and we have to cover our butts, and everybody's covering everybody's butts. And all over something that people want to share. Like, it just makes it way more complicated. So I don't really blame YouTube for it. And the fact that they're a company that is as big as it is while being as small as it is doesn't help any. They don't have near enough people to manage all the content that's created on a regular basis. Like, if you took the number of staff they have to handle YouTube and they had to individually manually review everything that went up, just the ones that are flagged for potentially having copyrighted material in them, like, they would fall further and further behind every day, because the number of hours each one of those few people who work there have to review that stuff, we create 3 to 4 times as much of that stuff per day as they have the person hours to be able to review it. And so they have to resort to AI systems, and these AI systems are just not particularly bright, honestly. They're systems that they look at like, oh, we have this sequence of 4 notes that are played in this same series, and our system has found that pattern in 5 other videos, so flag them. And ideally that stuff goes to review by a person, and if that person has 30 of those to view every 10 minutes, like, they're not going to sit there and watch the whole bloody video to make sure which ones are which. They're more likely to hit everybody with a flag and wait for somebody to appeal it and give them evidence for why they have the right to be using that. And then they'll come back and say, okay, so you've given me evidence that you have the right to use this. Here you go. It just makes more sense to do it that way. But at the same time, when I look at that, I have no interest in participating in that system. So, like, if I'm going to use stuff in my videos, it's going to be stuff that I bloody well know nobody else has put out there because I made it myself. And, once I do that, I'll figure out further along the way whether or not I can let other people use that. I'd like to hope that I could do that, but if I can't, then I can't. I'll do what I can, but I do kind of need to make my own music for my own videos. And the practice in doing that will get me to a point where I can make some of my own music, not just jingles and background music for my videos. I've had some ideas for creating music stuff. I'm just not skilled enough at it yet to say I'd be good enough to make a couple pieces of music. But this is not only a means of me getting music for my background and my jingles and all the stuff I need to do, but also practice for me to get better and expand my capabilities. So that's sort of where my mindset is right now going into tomorrow. I will come up with a more detailed plan of the coming week and the music that I'll be working on this coming week. But this recipe week has been fun, so I appreciate the chance to be able to do that. If I do this food stuff again in the future, I am not going to be doing 4 per day. I think that was a bit much. I may cut it back down to 2 per day. And that would mean if I do another 5-day week that it would be 10 recipes by the end of the week. So I could probably do 2 or 3 of those types of weeks before the end of the year and get about the same or a little bit more of the recipes than I did this past week. I got 20 recipes out of me in 5 days for this past week. I think if I did another 20 to 40 recipes for the rest of the year for when I do more of these food weeks, that'll be good enough. Yeah, I think I'm going to call it here. We're about an hour in, so I'm going to call it for the night. And it'll be an interesting adventure to try out the music this coming week, to see both what I can achieve with the software I have, share some of my progress, and I'm going to say it now, frustrations with what I'm trying to do. And then as I get towards the end of the week, to hopefully have a finished product by the end of the month at least, that I can use on my channel. And hopefully when I go to VidCon, I'll be able to talk with some people and get some information and find out about the possibilities of sharing it with other people and get a better sense of what I can do with that. So I'm feeling really tired and I've got a long day ahead of me tomorrow, so I'm going to call it here. Thanks for joining me. I will see you probably late tomorrow night and Monday night too. I think I'm going to stick close to the 10 to 10:30 time frame most of these nights. I might be later tomorrow because it's about an hour and 20-minute drive to and from, and I will probably leave where I am tomorrow afternoon around 7 or 8. I may have to stop and run a couple errands before I get back. So, yeah, I might get back here around 10:30 or 11, and it may take me a little time to get set up and prepared to do a video. So I might get kind of late tomorrow, but we'll see where it goes. Thanks for joining me. Have yourself a good night. I need to stop rambling. Such is life. 'Tis what it is.